I call to order this regular meeting of the Show Low Planning and Zoning Commission for Tuesday, May 25th, 2025. And we're going to do something a little bit different. We're actually waiting for one more member of the commission to arrive. They are on their way, so we are going to begin the meeting with a short recess while we wait for her to arrive, and then we'll continue with the agenda. Hopefully this won't be long. May 13th. May 13th? What did I say? Oh, May 13th, 2025. It's yanking.
There's little dots.
I was at the G9 band concert. I could have waited. I could have been staying. I could have listened to the whole thing. You could have finished it.
Started.
Yeah, I saw him a couple of times in church and stuff. Seems to be doing Yeah, he's lucky to be alive. I watched him with the camera. I was like, holy crap.
Bless you.
Somebody's watching out for him that day, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they just sitting there staring at this. Play the theme song.
Yeah.
It'll have like a policy. I have like an executive session.
There it is right there.
Oh, that picture, okay. Make him film into our own. Like a substitute, like teachers do. That's right.
So I do feel bad for her walking in. It's gotta be a little awkward.
You should just all.
It can be. It's a hard lesson. It's probably like what's going on. Nope, we're still live. No, it's not live. It's got a delay.
The cones are going. Your wife was talking forever, so I couldn't. What was she talking about? Because Barnes is retiring. Oh, yeah. So before the last.
You're supposed to do that when it's over.
Before the last band, so no one would leave.
Oh.
Smart.
Otherwise, people would be like, I don't need to hear this.
Everyone's like, peace out.
He's been there how long now? 12 years at least. 'Cause,
He's been really good for that program.
Yeah.
yeah, he's got an amazing ability to teach those kids.
Yeah.
You know, take junior high kids and make them high school level. It's incredible.
Yeah. They found a really good replacement though for him. So, yeah. She runs the music program up at Blue Ridge. So she's really excited to come down.
She's coming down.
Who is it?
Was she at the high
I
school
don't
or
know
the?
who this is.
I don't know. She runs the program up there at Blue Ridge. She was over in St. John's or Grand Valley before that. So,
Not on my best day.
the last day conference tried.
Yeah. I know.
I feel like this one
I was
was
like,
meant to be
this is gonna be
Man. Check
It's just a meeting. We can never.
I swear that's just the way it goes. Like when something happened, it just continues.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I used to
Get out of that spiral.
Yeah, half of it was
No, but it's somewhat delayed.
You ready for a break, Gary?
What's what?
You ready for summer?
Yeah,
All your students are for sure, right?
I'm ready to be done with them too.
What do you do all summer?
Usually I do summer school.
Do you?
Just to keep me busy and out of trouble, but I don't know, they didn't get any grants this year for it, so they're having WMI sub it out. I reached out to them, see if they're hiring, like, we don't know yet, depends on how many kids we have to deal with, and so let me know, if you need help, I'll help you, but
Yeah, I'm looking at 9 weeks off. I'm like, I don't know.
yeah,
I know it's gonna drive me crazy.
you give me about
2
2 or
days.
3 and I'm climbing the walls, and my wife's like, yeah, you gotta get out of here, so. Yeah, and it's different when you're an
Being off by myself,
administrator,
you're
but
like, well, what am I supposed to do?
yeah, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm still trying. I applied at Home Depot and Lowe's, but it didn't happen. So I don't know.
I'd like to remind the commission the mics are live while we're sitting here, so the online version is catching some of the conversations that are going on here.
Does that mute?
Does it work? How do we know if it works?
Yours doesn't like
I guess you have to keep.
there. Oops.
Wow, she gets her taken over.
Oh, there she
There she is.
There she is.
All right, that will end our short recess. Welcome to Dawn. Thank you for your patience, everyone. I will reiterate that this is the Charlotte Planning and Zoning Commission for Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. Roll call shows that all commissioners besides Commissioner Hatch and Commissioner Adams, thank you, are present this evening. So we do have a quorum. Next up, we will have the invocation given by Chairman Barlow, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Whipple. If you'd like to join us, please stand. Lord God, we just thank you for your faithfulness to us and your presence with us here tonight. We just ask that you would give this commission wisdom as we just consider the matters of this community and continue to seek its betterment. We ask that you would just be with the discussion that we have here tonight, that it would just be enlightening for all those present and for the commission as well as we just continue to move this city forward. Lord, we just ask that you would bless our community with moisture, especially with the fires in the surrounding community. We would ask that you would keep the people in those communities safe and protect our community as we go into this season of fire. We again just thank you for just your faithfulness to us. In the name of Jesus we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is election of officers, and I'm going to propose, I'm going to ask for a motion to continue this item until such a time as we have a full commission present. Do I have a motion on that?
A motion.
I have a motion by Commissioner Whipple. Do I have a second? I have a second by Commissioner Wilson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So we'll move that to a meeting. Next item on the agenda is new business, and the item under new business is item A, consideration of conditional use permit 602-04-274 submitted by the Hampton Group, Inc. to allow for a 96-unit apartment complex located at the northeast corner of US 60 and Summit Trail, that being the northern portion of APN 309-38-007Z, and I will be turning it over to Ms. Celine for the staff summary report. Prior to getting into this item, I am going to declare a conflict of interest due to my involvement with the design team on this project. I have asked Commissioner Schneff to lead the meeting this evening in the absence of a vice chair. Is there any objection from the commission? All right, I will turn it over to Commissioner Schneff for this portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Schneff. Before Ms. Celine reads the staff report, I would just like to go over meeting protocol for both the commission as well as members of the public. Just kind of outlining how this process works. So the first step will be staff will present the staff report and staff recommendations. Following the staff report, the commission may ask questions of staff and or the applicant. The applicant is here and is available. After questions to staff and or the applicant, the commission will open the meeting to public comment. Members of the public may come to the podium and state their name and whether they are a resident of Show Low for the record. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. You'll note that we do have a countdown timer over on the other side of the podium here. We also ask that repetitive comments be avoided. Sometimes people feel the need to get up and say the same thing as other people have said. We don't necessarily need to rehash the same thing over and over, but if you have something to add that has not been brought up, please feel free to come forward to the microphone. Please, no clapping or other demonstration during the public comment period. Those who exceed the 3-minute time period may be asked to conclude their remarks. Neither staff, the applicant, or the commission can respond to questions during the public comment period. We will be keeping track of them and will answer those following the public comment portion of the meeting. The commission will bring it back to the commission for further questions and discussion. That would be the time for the commission to ask additional questions of staff or additional questions of the applicant. These may be prompted by questions that were asked by members of the public. And then the commission may either approve the request with conditions, or deny the request. Any motion to deny the request must state the reason for doing so. So at this point, Ms. Celine, we'll turn it over to you for the presentation of the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director and Commissioners. The Hampton Group, Inc. has submitted a conditional use permit, CUP, to allow for a 96-unit apartment complex located on the northeast corner of US 60 and Summit Trail, that being the northern portion of APN 309-38-007Z. Multifamily dwellings over 10 units require a CUP in the C2 General Commercial Zone and are required to meet the standards of the R27 single-family and multifamily residential 7,000 square feet zone. A minimum lot area of 2,500 square feet is necessary for each apartment. Based on the property's total square footage, the maximum number of apartments possible on this parcel is 179 units. On October 21st, 1986, Show Low City Council passed ordinance number 257, which designated the parcel as a PUD, planned unit development. The parcel was then rezoned from PUD to C2 General Commercial through ordinance number 2008-06 on May 21st, 2008. Condition 3 of that ordinance requires a 35-foot no-build buffer along the east side of the subject property. A conceptual site plan has been submitted that shows a total of 10.25 acres, which has 8 buildings, including 6 two-story apartment complexes, 1 clubhouse, and a maintenance facility. The development will include 24 studios, 48 one-bedroom units, and 24 two-bedroom apartments. Each studio and one-bedroom apartment require 1.5 parking spaces, while two-bedroom apartments require 2 parking spaces. Overall, a total of 156 parking spaces will be required. The plans indicate 156 parking spaces, with 96 being covered, satisfying the minimum requirement. The proposed development intends to replicate the design and appearance of the applicant's existing 152-unit apartment complex, Elk Ridge, and intends to be rented out at market rate value. As stated by the applicant, they aim to preserve as much natural vegetation as possible across the site, which includes approximately 4 acres of open space land throughout the project. They will also implement a minimum setback of 35 feet from Snow Creek subdivision located on the eastern side of the property, along with a solid fence that aligns with the city standards or another type of fence if Snow Creek HOA has another city-approved preference. The closest building of the proposed apartment complex will be situated 74 feet away from Snow Creek's west property line, surpassing the 35-foot setback distance by approximately 40 feet. Access to the new Mountain Ridge complex will be provided by 2 points on Summit Trail. In the city's general plan under circulation goals, Summit Trail is considered a major collector and is shown to connect from US 60 to South White Mountain Road. Additionally, a site view fence has been suggested along US 60 and Summit Trail. The lighting on the site will adhere to dark sky standards and reduce light pollution for residents and neighbors. Official plans have not been submitted to the building department of the final development, and the final development shall meet all requirements of city code. Current zoning of the surrounding properties include North RCD, Recreation Community Development, South C2, General Commercial, East PUD, Planned Unit Development, West RCD, Recreation Community Development. The current land uses of the surrounding properties include North, vacant planned unit, South, vacant commercial, East, Snow Creek subdivision, West, Torion subdivision. Transmittal memos were sent to all affected agencies. Applicable comments were received. ADOT, a traffic impact statement with a trip generation is needed to determine if a full traffic impact analysis will be required. The property was posted and letters were sent to all property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. As of Friday, May 9th at noon, 2 people came in, while there was also 1 email and 3 phone calls received. These comments consisted primarily with seeking general information and raised concerns such as traffic issues, wildlife displacement, noise pollution, light pollution, and air quality concerns, emergency response capabilities, and overall safety. As of late this afternoon, we received a phone call from Susan Isley, who resides in the Torreon Gulf Villas. She is opposed to the project. Her concerns are the traffic and the peace and quiet. After the zoning ordinance, standards of review, finding of facts, discussions with the applicant, and because the request is consistent with the City of Show Low general plan, staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission approve conditional use permit 602-04-274 submitted by the Hampton Group Inc. to allow for a 96-unit apartment complex located at the northeast corner of the US 60 and Summit Trail, that being the northern portion of APN 309-38-007Z, subject to the following conditions. All development shall comply with all applicable federal, state, and local requirements, including building permits, parking, fire district, and ADOT requirements. All drainage of the property a subject property shall be designed in accordance with Chapter 17.20.50 drainage design and shall not negatively affect any downstream properties. The development should comply with the R27 single-family multifamily residential 7,000 square feet requirements of city code, including density, height, and recreation area requirements. Maximum building height shall be limited to 35 feet. Building design shall include mountain design architecture such as exposed beam, stone, split face block, and other complementary natural appearing materials. All development should comply with Chapter 19.110 outdoor light control. Lights shall be fully shielded from adjacent properties and roadways. Director Tregaskis and the applicant are available for questions.
Commissioner Wilson?
I know that when Ms. Lean was reading that, she talked about the traffic impact study. If we approve a CUP tonight and then the traffic impact study comes back and there's issues, how does that affect this?
So with the traffic impact study, ADOT is requesting that be performed because this is adjacent to an ADOT highway. Any requirements based on that study and from ADOT would have to be implemented as part of this project. So that would be in addition to anything that they're already proposing or would be required.
Okay, and then she mentioned one other thing was about a fence. Do we have any conditions on that fence, or? I'm so sorry. It mentioned a fence. I just was wondering if we had conditions on that fence.
So the included site plan as well as city code would require a solid material fence between this project and Snow Creek. Previously, the developer of Snow Creek, when the original Elk Ridge Apartments went in to the north of Snow Creek, or where Snow Creek is now, the developer of Snow Creek requested basically a wrought iron type fence, not a solid fence. So that's why you see the staff recommendation that either a solid fence be put in, or that if the Snow Creek HOA requests another type of fence in between, that they be allowed to do that as an option. So really it's an option for the Snow Creek HOA to say, we've got together with all of our residents and they prefer option A or option B. So they have a little bit of say in how that would look.
Thank you.
Any other questions from?
Any questions for the applicant?
Is there any questions for the applicant from the commission?
Not at this time. Okay. So open it to the public.
We're going to open comments to the public. Please remember the 3-minute time. Just come up to the mic here, state your name and your address.
Okay. My name's Robert Edens. I live at 1521 West Snow Creek Trail in the Snow Creek community, the part that's affected. First off, is this a done deal already? Have you already made a decision? It's approved and it's going to happen? Because this is the first time we have a chance to even have a conversation about it. So is there an answer to that I can have? I think we all want to know that, don't we? Okay, so is this already a done deal?
So we can't answer questions from the, is that right?
Can't answer questions from
Sir,
us?
they can't directly respond to you. Once you're done, then they can comment.
Oh, okay. Okay, well. One of the concerns I personally have is that a traffic study. What kind of traffic study was done, so maybe you can answer after. But the Elk Ridge Apartments that you spoke of has two access and entrances, one from Sierra Pines and one from the US 60. I find it unusual that we didn't get the same option with this because we're going to have everything on Summit Trail. That's unfortunate to us. Excuse me. Because not only is Summit Trail going to be used by Snow Creek, it's going to be used by those apartments. There's a new development just up Summit Trail that's coming soon. And then there are plans in the future to have Summit Trail go all the way through to White Mountain Boulevard 260. So we're going to have all the 60 traffic coming up from Globe, taking that shortcut, the apartment entrance and access, Summit, Snow Creek, and the additional development. And I think that's unfortunate that we don't at least have the apartments have at least two options. One to US 60, like the Elk Ridge Apartments is, and then one to ours, so that we don't get 100% of the traffic. That would kind of give you a 50-50 and cut down on some of the traffic. So that's one unfortunate part to me. The other is that I thought that public notices, personally, I always thought and assumed, and this is ignorance on my part, is that it was something where the community that's going to be impacted has the opportunity to address, meet their accuser, who's going to do something that's going to impact our lives where we live, and be able to address it in advance of approval. And so I guess a lot of us maybe are confused by the fact that we see a public notice, which it appears to me is something that we're able to address in advance of approval. And it doesn't appear that that's the way. I got 14 seconds, so I guess I'll end it with that one, is that I don't understand why we don't get to talk in front of versus in the rear of an approval. Again, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you and ask the questions.
Thank you.
My name is Marceline Camus, and I live at 1771 West Snow Creek Loop. And I would like to offer for the record signatures of my community members that I was able to gather in the short time that the notice went up. And for me, and as I talked to our other community, it wasn't so much the growth of Show Low. We're all looking at it in the face. We see what's happening in Show Low. It's growing. I think our main concern, as Bob said, is the location. And for me, the grave concern for being able to get out of my community. Summit Trails is a very short road. It's 0.3 of a mile, and it ends at no outlet. The only way in and out of Snow Creek is one gate. There is no other way to get out. And that concerns me to know that I'm going to have 96 plus 100 and some odd cars all vying to try to get out on the highway. The second part that I want to remind the commissioners about is the location that this building is going to go up on, is where all our visitors and all our people are coming up from Globe, from the valley, and they're speeding in, they're checking their phones because they finally got service. And I cannot tell you in the short time I've lived at Snow Creek how many times they've had to replace the guardrail, as well as how many times we've seen dead elk on the side of the road. So I know it sounds like I went over the same thing Bob did, but it's really important to us that we are able to get out of our community because there's just no way out. And someone I was speaking to said, oh, don't worry, the fireman's going to open up a gate. We have no way out except Summit Trail. So how do I offer this to the record?
Good.
And I'm sorry I didn't make 12 copies. I didn't know the rules.
Thank you.
Good evening. Randy Hotchkiss. I live at 1780 Snow Creek Loop within a 300-foot notice that I got the letter for the 300-foot notice. I think your project, where is the developer here? Okay. If it looks like Elk Ridge, I think it's gonna be good. Colors, muted colors, brown, greens. You did a good job with Elk Ridge, okay? I do have some concerns about the entrance and the lighting off of 60. There's absolutely no lighting on 60 at Summit Ridge, or at Summit Trail. I'm surprised there hasn't been a massive rear end collisions there already. But with the increased traffic with the apartments, we have a real issue there with lighting and signage. What is your plan for lighting at the intersection of 60 and Summit Trail?
They'll have an opportunity to come back and answer your questions when you're done.
We can't answer it now?
No, we
Oh,
can't
okay.
answer your question right now.
That was my concern, okay? The other concern is times of construction. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the developer. You're the one that's doing the development, right?
Can't do a thing without them.
You're gonna be the developer. I want you to hear what I'm saying. You listening? Okay. I'm concerned about lighting at the entrance. You got that. I'm concerned about hours of construction during the project. Can it be limited to during the week, let be 7 to 5 or something like that, and nothing on the weekend? We have concerns about dust, noise pollution, light pollution. Can we make those restrictions as far as times of construction? Question. I'm concerned about a buffer between Snow Creek and this project. I know we're talking about a fence. I've got 50 seconds left. We're talking about a fence. Can we do a tree line barrier, perhaps, within that 74 feet setback? A tree line barrier would really screen the project from us that live down there within 300 feet. Food for thought. Screen line barrier, a tree barrier, maybe. What else? Traffic, lighting, hours of construction. I guess that's it. The project, Elk Ridge looks good. If it looks like Elk Ridge, we're okay. But we need to protect our association. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Roger Haythorn White. I live in Snow Creek, 1811 South Snow Creek Loop. And one of my concerns is that on this plot plan that they're showing here, it doesn't show the whole property that they own between this project and the existing apartments that are on there. And I would like to know what the usage for the property is beyond this. Is there a future? Is this phase one? Is this phase two? We're going to be phase two to it? What is the usage for the existing property that they own between the two apartments? They own all the way across. That's one of my main concerns. The second concern is like everybody else, the traffic. And Snow Creek everybody has to use one exit out of Snow Creek. And that was designed because of Sierra Pines did not want Snow Creek property owners to go through their property. So consequently, we only have one gate. We have 3 gates, but only one is of usage. So if there's any traffic issues of this nature, maybe the city should consider allowing us to be able to put another gate to where we can go through Sierra Pines. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Don Cook. I live at 1341 Snow Creek Trail. I heard the planner, Ms. Celine, talk about White Mountain Road and Summit Trail connecting. Do you know how many trucks there are in Show Low? Way too many. And you can hear them in Snow Creek as they're going from 60 onto Deuce Clubs, and you can hear those trucks very easily. If you've been up on Summit Trail, it's downhill. I can't even ride my bike up that hill. So what are the trucks going to do? They're going to start braking, and they're going to use their air brakes. So then what happens is all the homes in Snow Creek, you've got $1 million homes up there, and they're going to have to listen to trucks. So if I had my say, do what you did with Sierra Pines. Make it so that if you want to cut through Sierra Pines, it's a maze to get through there if you want to cut through. Thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Dawnelise Nielsen. I live at 2121 South Snowy Ridge Loop in Show Low. My concern is we have a lot of development all of a sudden. We're going to have an apartment complex, and we have a new housing development when we purchased our home, we were told that that's forest land. The land is now commercial. It's been swapped. I don't understand real estate, but that is now available for development. So part of the reason we moved there was we had forest land surrounding Snow Creek. My understanding is that Summit Trail eventually will connect to Fawn Brook. That's a long way away. That means a lot of traffic. My question is, what are the zoning regulations related to that on the west side of Summit Trail? What is the development plan intended for that? What traffic studies have been done that will affect not only Snow Creek, but the addition that's being added behind us, plus the traffic that will come with 96 apartments or up to 150 plus? And why isn't the egress, ingress off of 60? Why is it going to be on Summit, which will affect us? So those are my questions. I have heard rumors that we're going to have roundabouts that go all the way through Summit Trail that will slow the traffic down that when it connects to Fawn Brook. But I would like to know what the traffic studies are and ADOT's input into the traffic that's going to come as a result of this commercial development. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other comments from the public?
My name is Liz Smoot. I'm at 1750 Snow Creek Trail in Show Low. I just have one question, which I know you cannot answer now, but it is a concern, and my concern is, will the apartments be lease apartments or month to month, where they will become VRBOs that will be right off of our property? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jim West. Recent purchased a lot in Snow Creek, so I don't have an address yet. House hasn't been built, but my concern was, first off, on the size of the apartments. If they would fit, I'll say, in front of the existing apartments that are there now, the Elk Ridge apartments. So from there to Highway 60. Don't know if they would, but to me, if there's apartments there already and they would fit in front of that, to me, that would be a better fit. And this corner lot that we're talking about, why isn't that, or could that be, or is that available for retail of some type rather than an apartment complex. So that's kind of the things I thought of real quick, and I pretty much echo everything everyone else has said. So thank you much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. If there's no more comments from the public, we will.
Just close the public comment.
We're going to close the public comments and move to.
We'll bring it back to the commission for questions, discussion.
Do we have any? We'll bring it back to the commission for any further questions. Yes, Commissioner Hall or Commissioner Wilson.
So, being that 60 is an ADOT highway,
Can't hear you.
being that US 60 is an ADOT highway, do we even have any input as to whether or not an egress is put on 60?
So if I could, I'd like to kind of just go through the questions that were asked. I believe that was one of the questions or several questions that was brought up. So in answering their question, I'll answer your question and probably several others. There were several questions that I'm going to defer to the applicant because those were probably more appropriate for them to answer versus city staff to answer. So if Commissioner Wilson will give me the latitude.
Absolutely.
Okay. First individual that came up was Robert. He asked, is this a done deal, and wanted to know what the public notification process is. So this is a conditional use permit. It's not a zone change. The notification requirements are spelled out in city code. There is no requirement for a neighborhood meeting before any type of formal meeting such as this. If it were a zone change, that would be a requirement. The applicant would have to hold the neighborhood meeting before we would even schedule this meeting that we're having tonight. There would also be a public meeting with the city council. So a zone change, much more involved public hearing process. For a conditional use permit, we're required to post the property a minimum of 10 days prior to the meeting taking place. That was accomplished. The notices were posted a week ago Friday, so we were actually a day or two longer than 10 days. We're also required to send out letters to all property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. Those letters were sent out the same day as the property was posted. We do use the Navajo County tax records for the mailing lists for those letters. So sometimes we hear people say, well, I didn't get a letter. I'm right next door. Why didn't I get a letter? When we go through the list, we'll find out that perhaps the property is owned by a trust, or maybe it's owned by an LLC with a different mailing address than the person who actually resides there in the home. That's one reason why we also post the property. So if you were supposed to get a letter and for whatever reason you didn't, the posting is still visible. So in this case, for a conditional use permit, there is no other informal or formal meeting required. As far as a traffic study and 2 accesses onto Summit Trail, and why not any accesses onto the highway, traffic study is required by ADOT. That was already referenced in the staff report that they are going to require that. Typically, those do not take place before this happens, this type of meeting, for several reasons. One is they're kind of expensive to do. So if for some reason the commission or the city council says we're not going to approve that, then they have spent the money for no reason. The second is if for some reason during the course of this meeting, they decide we're going to change the way things laid out, they would then have to redo the traffic study that they already did because of the changes to that. So we do require a traffic study. We require them to comply with the ADOT requirements for that because they abut a state highway, and they are required to comply with the findings of that study. For example, if the study came back and said, we need a traffic signal at that location, if ADOT said that, then it would be up to the applicant to put in a traffic signal at that location. If ADOT comes back and says, based on the number of trips this project is going to generate, it does not trigger any additional improvements, they would not be required to put in any additional improvements. Now, as that road extends and more units are constructed that access off of that road, that answer will probably change. So it's not something where they say, we're going to require all of the improvements up front before anybody does anything. They look at it and say, what is this project? What is this project's impact? Does that trigger the improvements? So they will be required to do the traffic study as required by ADOT. They will be required to do any of the improvements. As to why they're not proposing an access onto some US 60 at this time, I've got an asterisk by that question because that's one I would defer to the applicant. Why are you not including that in your design? Marcelina, I believe the name was. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Yes, okay. She had a few questions about the entrance and lighting at Summit Trail. Again, I would defer that question to the applicant, but it's also a component of that traffic study. If the traffic study says additional lighting is required, then they'll have to put in additional lighting. I'm sorry, I skipped down to Randy Hodgkins. Marcelina, let me get back to your questions. Question was about the location, and I would defer that one to the applicant. This is zoned commercial. You can do apartments on commercial, which is why we're here. Summit Trail is a dead end currently. It only serves essentially this property. There's two properties to the south. It also serves Snow Creek. Snow Creek are the only active users at this point. That road is shown on our general plan, our transportation master plans. Eventually, it will tie in all the way over to White Mountain Road. What the timing is on that, we don't know. It's going to be development driven. That's going to be a very expensive road to build. And the city would prefer to have the person who's going to benefit from the road, the developer, be the one to pay for the road. So as the properties to the east develop, that road will be extended. Eventually, it will tie in over at White Mountain Road. The actual location, Fawnbrook has been discussed as a potential location. There might even be a couple other options as to where it might tie in. Again, that's going to be a component of the design as we move along through those other properties. And then comment, this is the entrance into the city. We want it to look nice. And, you know, the developer is maintaining quite a lot of open space there and is doing buildings that match what he's already done at Elk Ridge. Those seem to be, we get positive comments on those buildings. They're not just block, cinder block, you know, prison ward type apartment structures. Now I'll get to Randy. Randy, a question about the entrance and lighting at Summit Trail. Already discussed that. Construction times by city code, you cannot start construction prior to 7 a.m. You can actually go until 10 p.m. Most people cut off at dark. It's kind of hard to hammer nails and do things once it gets dark. If the commission wished to impose additional time limits on that, for example, end at 7 p.m., that would be something that they could discuss. So that is an option. And then as far as a buffer with a screen line barrier, we talked a little bit about the fence previously. That would be an option if the commission and the Snow Creek HOA preferred just leaving it open with no fence directly along the property line. That would be an option that could be discussed also with the applicant. You know, planting some extra trees, that type of thing. Roger had a question. His question was, what's the design for the rest of the property? Originally, what we had received is what you see on the television screen. If we could get, there we go. That's fairly limited. Admittedly, that does not show the entire property. Let's see if we can get to, there we go. So we did ask for and we did obtain another map which does show the entire property with the proposed units on the south portion of that. This north portion, if I can get my mouse to work, there we go. There is a detention basin on that north portion that helps serve the existing Elk Ridge Apartments. It is a regional detention area. The applicant is not proposing any type of development other than what you see on this plan here. The commission is not approving any other development other than what you see on this plan here. So if the commission were to approve this application, they could not come in with another 96 apartments and plop them on top without going through this whole process again. And then he also had concerns with traffic and the gates. All I can say on that is those gates and that access, those were designed with the original developer of Snow Creek and the concerns of the individuals there at Sierra Pines. Again, as the Summit Trail does develop, that road eventually, again, no timeline for development, will give the option for an additional access to the east out to White Mountain Road as opposed to the current access through Sierra Pines and onto US 60. Don had questions, commented on the connection from 60 to White Mountain Road, the concern about trucks and road design. Don, I don't have any specific answers for you at this time. That road will have to be designed as the properties to the east develop. We anticipate that there will be some type of traffic calming measures included in that. You've got a lot of topography that runs through that property. You're not just going to do a straight shot. Legitimately, you just can't. So it is going to have to kind of wind and move around a little bit. Do we put roundabouts in there? Possibly. Again, that has not been designed at this point. It may be years and years down the future. It may be none of us in this room will be around to even have the discussion. I'm not sure. But that is something that we would have to review as the process moves forward. I talked a little bit at the beginning about Robert and his questions with the public notification process. The property to the east of Snow Creek is currently zoned as GA5. If they want to do anything else besides 5-acre lots in there, that's a zone change process. That's a neighborhood meeting process. That's public meeting processes. They would have to show at that neighborhood meeting what are their conceptual plans. How do they perceive and how do they think that road's going to go through? That would then be available for public comment and review. Donna Reese, questions about roadway construction and development plan. I think that's pretty similar to what was just discussed. Liz, questions about would the apartments be lease or month to month? I would defer that one to the applicant. And then Jim West had questions, why not in front of the existing apartments? Again, I would defer that one to the applicant. And then the question was, this is the corner lot and available for retail. That property is zoned C2. That is our general commercial zoning district. There's pages and pages of what are permitted uses in our C2 zoning district. I'll just throw out some examples. You could have a grocery store. It would have to be a minimum of 35 feet away from the Snow Creek development. You could have a hotel that could be 45 feet tall and would have to be 35 feet away from the Snow Creek development. Quite a list. I mean, if you just drive down the Deuce of Clubs, basically what you see along the Deuce of Clubs would be permitted on this property, generally with no public meeting process at all. So because this is apartments over 10 units, it triggers a conditional use, which is why we're here this evening. With that, I think I've answered the questions that I heard during the public comment process. Certainly there are some to defer to the applicant. So,
Justin, can I clarify something?
Mr. Chair, I mean.
Can I clarify something?
Sure, yeah. come on up here and
I didn't suggest a tree line barrier versus a wall. I suggested a wall plus a tree line barrier.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Thank you, Director Karasis. Sure, come on.
Hi all, I'm Gaston Mascareñas, resident of Snow Creek. And my concern is the road between connecting Summit all the way to White Mountain Boulevard. The approach of let's kind of figure this thing out as we develop along frightens me, because it says we have no master plan, no urban planning. And if we go and piecemeal it, well, we don't need roundabouts now because we don't have much traffic. Another development drops in, same logic, and pretty soon you have a lot of traffic and you don't have adequate traffic calming. So at the end of the proverbial day, you could have a situation where you have created a bypass of Show Low. People going to Pine Top and Lakeside or coming back will just simply cut through there. So I'm very concerned about that, because if it doesn't get planned up front, the result is usually not good. So I hope the commission takes a more long-term approach and plans this out for the future, so that as new developments drop in, they do something that builds to something good. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're gonna have the builder come up with that.
Yes, at this time, if you'd like to have the applicant come forward.
Can we have
and-
the applicant come forward and address any concerns that they'd like to address that were brought up? Please state your name and address.
My name is Don House, and I'm the managing director at the Hampton Group, as well as an owner.
Thank you.
Which questions would you like?
Let's start with the entrance. Why both entrances are coming off of Snow Creek and there's none off of US 60?
The discussions with ADOT are that they don't feel there's enough room between Summit Trail and Sierra Pines to have multiple entrances there. And they're concerned because you have to have acceleration lanes and deceleration lanes and turning lanes in various places. So they did not want to give us access there. Also, because that's a regional drainage area, there's about a 10-foot drop from the road down below. And they weren't sure how they would deal with getting cars or traffic on and off of the highway there safely. And it only would affect the apartments, whereas Summit Trail is designed at grade. And right now, they feel that that's the best way to get out and go north up Summit Trail.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission?
Let me answer the VRBO question quick.
Sure,
go ahead.
We do not participate in those programs, and the residents there sign leases that generally are around 1 year.
What's your work time limits? Start of the day, end of the day?
Typically, our projects go, depending what we're doing, if we pour concrete, and we have eight buildings here to pour concrete on, those, depending on whether we're pouring in the winter or the summer, could go into the early morning. Most cities do have special permits you can ask for, because if it's too hot in the summer, for example, which I don't anticipate here at all, we can go for a permit to go earlier to help pour the slab and make sure the concrete sets up properly. We don't pour at night typically in this environment, and in the wintertime, I don't see us doing anything in the evenings. Most of our subcontractors look at it as, you know what, if we can come in there at 7 or 8 in the morning, we're not going to work for 12 or 15 hours. Our guys aren't going to last. So typically we're, like any other construction project you see in town, we'll typically go from about 7 or 8, and most of our guys will go home towards 4.
What about lighting restrictions, things like that, you know, at the entrance, anything there you can help with, or?
Well, we're concerned with the safety of the people that are going up Summit Trail as well, because a lot of them will be our residents. And so what we do is we follow what the city guidelines are. We recognize that you're a dark sky community and we have to work with that. But we will comply with what the city requirements are when we submit our plans for review. And we'll put lighting appropriate. Yes, we want to be seen at our entrances because it's safer for people coming and going. We spend some money at our entrances to develop a good feeling for the community. So we'll light that as we can, but it is not our goal to make this like a park. Our residents enjoy their dark and solitude just as much as homeowners do.
What's the estimated time of completion for this project?
We're working on our construction drawings now, which we hope to be into the city within about 60 days. Once they're approved by the planning department, we'll move forward. We would like to be under construction by the end of summer. That's if everything goes right. If we don't get it then we'll probably move into the fall. We look at a 12 to 14 month construction build out time.
Any other questions? Would you be amenable to meeting with Snow Creek about or how to best situate the fence?
Yes, we've already had contact with the HOA. One of our representatives talked to them last week. Just so everybody knows, the setback area and the 70 feet from the nearest building, 74 feet, we have no intention of cutting down any trees there. We want to leave it as natural as we can. We've gone through great expense and effort to keep every tree that's over 24 inches in diameter on the property. We've relocated buildings because there's a considerable slope on that property. We've changed our roads. We've had the plan for potential snow days, so we've set some outline areas for snow to be stored. But we're trying to save as many trees as we can. That's a selling point for us too, just like the homeowners. I would say also that the regional area that people were questioning us building additional units in, that was done with us when we were building Elk Ridge and with Corey Frampton when he was building Snow Creek. That also drained Snow Creek. There would be no Snow Creek without that drainage. And when we built Elk Ridge, we bore under Highway 60 so that the water from all the property on the east side there could go under and go into Torreon Lakes there. And we did that. That was a stipulation of the city of Show Low. And so we did that back in 2008 at all of our expense. Sewer also goes under there, which is also used by Snow Creek. As far as Summit Trail traffic, what happens in the future, I can't tell you that. We don't have a crystal ball. We do own other land on Summit Trail on the south side of the road, starting at Highway 60 going north. What we're going to do with that, we don't know. The question was brought up about the other property between this one and Sierra Pines Trail, and it is commercially zoned. If we could give you a store, we would, but there's just no demand there. We can't justify the expense. We'd love to have a restaurant out there. We'd love to have a place you could go down and have coffee and have lunch, but there's just no demand there. So as it sits right now, it's commercial. Where is its future? I can't tell you right now. When we bought it all and we had it also on commercial, it was because we were high on this side of town coming to life. That was in 2006. So I'm not sure that says have good timing, but we always consider what our neighbors are doing. Elk Creek, I think, or Elk Ridge has been a good neighbor. And the type of housing we're building here is very similar to that. And we expect the residents to be similar people. I know most people don't know there's 6 police officers from the city of Show that live at Elk Creek. Makes it a great, safe neighbor. We also give advantage to firefighters, and we also service a lot of medical people out of the hospital area. There's a lot of people that come and go, so we have a lot of corporate users
and they bring in their nurses, their doctors, their anesthesiologists to train at the hospital, or they work a 6-month shift. So we'll bring them in and they'll be our residents. So, we tend to have good quality residents that have good jobs. That it's a safe environment. We've never had any major problems there at all. So we expect this piece to be very similar.
Thank you. Are there any further questions from the commission here?
So if there's no other questions or comments from the commission, of either the staff or the developer, the next step would be to look for a motion. That motion can be to either straight approve with no conditions of approval, or a motion to approve with conditions. Those conditions could include staff recommendations as outlined in the staff report. They may also include anything that the developer may have stipulated to or discussed during this meeting. Or again, if you feel that there's a reason to deny this application, that motion could be to deny, but you would have to state the reason for doing so. So that's kind of the next step you're at if you're done with questions.
Okay. Do I have anyone that'd like to approve this?
I'll move to motion to approve CUP 60204-274 submitted by the Hampton Group to allow for a 96-unit apartment complex located northeast corner of US 60 and Summit Trail. That being the northern portion of APN 309-38-007Z. And subject to the recommendations and items brought forth by the applicant. Stipulations.
Do I have a second?
Do we know, do you have specific stipulations?
Well, regarding the fence that he would meet with Snow Creek and any design recommendations that they have, that's kind of my main one, I would think. And then any guidance by ADOT following the traffic report.
And staff recommendations.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion approved.
So motion carries, vote. Siri's always listening. So motion carried by a vote of 4-0. Just a reminder to the commission and the public, there is a 7-day appeal period. If an appeal is received by the city clerk by an individual meeting the definition of an aggrieved person, this will be heard by the city council. So, thank you.
Thank you.
You want to? Yep.
You can.
Thank you, Commissioner Sneff, for leading the commission through that item. We'll move on to item 7, call to the public. There's then a citizen wishing to speak on a matter within the jurisdiction of the Planning and Zoning Commission that's not on the agenda this evening. You may do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 8, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting of March 25th, 2025? I have a motion by Commissioner Wilson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, Commissioner Schneff
sorry.
beat you to it. He
Sorry,
beat you to
that's
it.
all right.
Second by Commissioner Schneff. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Item 9, summary of current events, and we'll begin with Commissioner Schneff.
Just remember, it's dry, be safe, especially after the rain today and the fires that started up in Greer and over by White River.
I apologize to the audience online and for the delay. I also want to welcome Commissioner Clark to the commission, and then say if anybody hasn't been over to the little market that's held at the Arts Center on Sundays from 10 to 2, it's a really great little market just off of Penrod.
Just grateful to be a part of the commission and to be here, so I look forward to serving with everybody.
I too would like to welcome Commissioner Clark. Also, just a reminder, be fire wise, be safe, and keep Greer and White River in your prayers at this time.
And I will also echo welcoming Commissioner Clark. Glad to have you on the commission. And again, just thanks to staff for all the work that they put into putting these packets together for us each week. Director Tregaskis.
Just a couple things. First of all, thank you to Commissioner Schneff for filling in. That was kind of a last minute thing. He actually had to give up part of his son's end of year school concert to be here for this. So understand that's a bit of a sacrifice and appreciate that. Also, welcome to Commissioner Clark. Glad to have you here. We tried to break you in on a little bit easier meetings, but appreciate thoughts and insight that all of the commission puts in, regardless of the meeting or what's on the agenda. And then finally, I would like to announce for those who are not aware, the city of Show Low, as well as Navajo County and other surrounding jurisdictions, did enter into stage 2 fire restrictions as of 6 p.m. this evening. Mayor has signed a proclamation. Go through, I'm just going to highlight some of what that means. You hear stage 1, you hear stage 2. What exactly is that? So stage 2, the following acts are prohibited, including on private property, until further notice. Fires, campfires, charcoal or briquettes, stove fires, including propane devices that use LPG or propane. Those are allowed if they have a UL or FM approval and are used for cooking or warmth only. Any device must be attended at all times. So no wood campfires, no charcoal grills, that type of thing. All debris burning and all burn permits are suspended until restrictions are lifted. Don't just get caught in the thought that, hey, this is just a small little thing I'm going to burn. We had just over the weekend a pretty serious structure fire. It was caused by charcoal from a charcoal grill falling underneath somebody's deck, and that caused the home to catch on fire. So even something that's pretty small, especially in the winds we're experiencing, that can be a pretty serious result. Smoking, except within an enclosed vehicle or building, a developed recreation site, or while stopped in an area at least 3 feet in diameter that is barren or cleared of all flammable materials. So please don't drive down the road and throw your cigarette out the window. We see that happen from time to time. Possessing or using a motor vehicle off of designated roads or trails, except when parking in an area devoid of vegetation, within 10 feet of the roadway, and except for parking overnight in Forest Service developed campgrounds and trailheads. It's really popular. You're driving out on a forest road, you see another forest road that you want to get to, you're not sure how to get there. Don't just drive cross country through the grass. Mufflers get hot, catalytic converters get hot. And also not mentioned here, but be careful with your trailer chains. Make sure those are tightened up a little bit so that they're not dragging. Especially check after you've put the load on your trailer. It's real easy to check when your trailer is empty and sitting high, but when you load it down, especially if you're taking advantage of the city free dump opportunities, when you load it down, sometimes that hitch will drop a little bit and drop your chains. So keep an eye on that, please. Using an explosive. So please don't use fuses, blasting caps, fireworks, rockets, exploding targets, tracer, and incendiary ammunition and explosive targets. Also, please, no blasting, welding, or operating an acetylene or other torch with open flame. If you are having to do welding outside as part of a construction activity, please contact Timber Mesa Fire. They do have some requirements and guidelines to go along with that, but don't just pull out your Harbor Freight welder and hit the fence in the backyard. That can be a problem. And then operating a chainsaw or other equipment powered by an internal combustion engine without an approved spark arrestor. So we ask everybody to please cooperate with these, as we saw today in Greer. Something small can balloon into something pretty big and pretty severe. Hopefully by following these these regulations, we can avoid that. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Director. Seeing no other items on the agenda, I will adjourn us.